Have you ever wondered what is going on behind your mobile devices? Do you know what those cookies you're accepting on in every website actually do? Or are you even reading the terms and conditions before clicking on I agree? Do not feel bad about yourself if you don't, since you're amongst the majority, since most of us don't do so. But we must acknowledge the rising problem all of these questions are a part of. Most of us are now aware that our phone collects data from us and uses it in various different aspects. And if you didn't know this, why do you think that your phone specifically recommends you ads of those shoes or phones you were talking about earlier on the day? This is not a mere coincidence. They can hear us. Every single day, each one of us contributes to a great amount of data being collected online. And that's why I believe that the next great global problem that we will face is the lack of privacy and cybersecurity issues in the future. As our lives become increasingly intertwined with technology, we find ourselves in a delicate dance between convenience and vulnerability. From smart homes to wearable devices, the digital footprint we're leaving behind is more extensive than ever, raising critical questions about the sanctity of our own personal space. Our vulnerability is most exposed when we're trading our personal information for a free service. With this, I mean that every time we use our mobile devices, we're leaving behind our data, where inevitably it ends up in the cloud, stored and almost certainly sold. Which is unfortunate because the cloud doesn't really exist. Instead, it's just someone's computer very far away. We're willing to pay for a physical object, like our smartphones, but we're not willing to pay for the services laying behind them which actually make them smart. And if we do not pay for them, someone else will. And here a problem arises. We're paying with our own personal data, a service laying behind our smart objects that we pay for with real money. Our privacy defenselessness is unveiled when information shared from the objects in our homes to the cloud that they are connected to can say a lot about our lifestyle and habits in the form of the digital footprint that we're leaving behind without us having a clue about it. Showing us that even though we might believe we're the captains of our smartphone ship, in reality, the manufacturers are the true buccaneers of this digital seas. I bet you didn't know that years back the transportation app Uber had to roll back some changes it did to its app, where it continued to track users even after they had completed the trip. This claiming about the benefit added to the app it brought. What do you think about this? It's scary, right? Someone extremely far away from you knows your location or even who you are, and you have no opportunity to do anything about it. Another example of this are those pre-installed apps that already come with your phone. These can gather a lot of information about you to extents difficult to calculate. They can know everything from your location to your interests to even your love relationship. This causes great discontent among the masses, as we'll see now. In Australia, 2 surveys were carried out. The first one, done by the University of Sydney's Digital Rights, showed that 62% out of the 1,600 participants felt that they couldn't control their privacy online. Another 47% felt that the government could invade their privacy at any given moment. The second survey was a privacy survey carried out by the Australian Community Attitudes, where 1,800 people participated. The results showed that 79% of the participants felt uncomfortable with the targeted advertisement based on their online activities. 83% were uncomfortable with the social networking companies keeping their information. 66% believed that it was a standard practice for mobile apps to collect the user information. And finally, 74% thought that it was a normal practice for websites to gather the user's information. And if I were to ask you, wouldn't you feel uncomfortable with the fact that at any given moment anyone could invade your privacy? Or that even in the intimacy of your own room you're being heard or seen? The answer is probably a rotund yes, but hey, not all hope is lost. See, everything I have talked about is not a recent problem or something fresh out of the oven. Instead, it's a problem that has been rising for many years. And for this, I propose a 2-part solution to guarantee that our privacy will be in safe hands in the future. The first part of the solution has to do with those above, and I'm not talking about God or religion here, but instead of those manufacturers or producers who actually give us our products. These companies must follow the GDPR, or in other words, the General Data Protection Regulations, which basically gives us, the customer, more rights for our consent, meaning that we have to give our consent for our data to be gathered and used, that our consent cannot be assumed, and that we have the opportunity to reject something if we are forced to accept it and we cannot change our minds later on. Continuing with this, our products must be built for privacy by default, and the manufacturers have to be more transparent regarding the data being gathered and used. Now for part 2 is our part of the solution, how we help each other maintain our privacy private. I believe our part of the solution is much easier. Something as simple as actually knowing everything about how our products work, how our data is being gathered and used, or even taking a bit of our precious time away to actually know what those cookies or terms and services I was talking about earlier actually do. So as we have seen, the lack of privacy is a constant problem nowadays, but it doesn't mean that with a bit of transparency and a bit of consciousness from our part, we cannot avoid it. Thank you.